Tensions escalate. Jungkook preparing to take extreme measures? Amsterdam. Is BTS on the brink of the greatest internal crisis in their career history? That question arose sharply after shocking news from the closing concert of Jin's solo tour at Ziggo Dome, Amsterdam, which took place without the presence of Jungkook or any other BTS members. Circulating information stated that the prohibition of their attendance was not mere coincidence, but a decision triggered by internal management policy. This suspicion grew stronger after rumors emerged that Jungkook was preparing an open move to reveal what really happened behind the stage. Unofficial sources from the South Korean music industry claimed that Jungkook was considering holding a special live broadcast on a global platform. Although there has been no confirmation from the artist or agency, the rumor was enough to spark a massive response from ARMY worldwide. Social media activity surged, with thousands of posts speculating about the content of the statement Jungkook might deliver. For many fans, this step would be a decisive factor in the direction of the relationship between BTS and the management overseeing them. Tensions mounted when several international fanbase accounts shared screenshots allegedly originating from internal staff conversations. The content of the messages suggested the existence of a structured restriction of information, even stating that Jin's concert agenda was arranged in such a way as to prevent the physical meeting of the members. Although the authenticity of these documents has not been verified, their circulation on Twitter, X, and Instagram has created a global discussion that is difficult to control. Amid this wave of speculation, several fans reported that Jungkook was seen at a recording studio in the early hours after Jin's concert ended. There were suspicions that he was preparing special material, whether a song or a public statement, that would address the situation. Fan analyses stated that if this step were indeed taken, it would be a rare form of creative protest in the K-pop music industry, where artists are usually expected to follow management's directives strictly. Meanwhile, Jin chose to remain silent. His professional demeanor on stage, finishing the concert without touching on the developing issue, sparked dual interpretations. Some believe Jin wanted to maintain focus on the concert and the fans in attendance. However, others believe there was internal pressure preventing him from making public comments to avoid potential escalation of conflict within BTS or with the agency. This issue highlights the classic dilemma between artistic freedom and management control. In the context of BTS, a group long known for being solid, mutually supportive, and rarely touched by internal scandals, news like this carries a different weight. Many fans worry that if this situation is left unaddressed, relations between members could be disrupted, even affecting future projects already scheduled after the military service period. Suspicions of an internal rift have become a main topic in international ARMY community forums. Some even consider this moment a turning point that could change BTS's image in the public eye. Moreover, if Jungkook truly chooses the path of open confrontation, it would mark a major shift in the group's dynamic, which has long seemed harmonious in front of the camera. However, there are also those who believe Jungkook's open move, if it happens, could actually strengthen his position as an independent figure brave enough to speak up for the interests of group members. In the K-pop industry, known for exclusive contracts and tight control, such an attitude could set an important precedent. Yet, the risks are clear. Potential direct clashes with management, which could impact promotions, schedules, and even collaborations with global brands. The question now narrows to two scenarios. First, Jungkook will use this moment to openly challenge policies he deems unfair, while triggering internal reforms that are more favorable to artists. Second, he chooses a closed-door diplomatic route, discussing this issue internally to maintain group harmony under public scrutiny. Whatever choice is made, one thing is undeniable. The Amsterdam incident has opened a new chapter full of tension, both in BTS's journey and in their relationship with management. Fans are now waiting to see whether this moment will mark the beginning of a major change, or instead leave a wound difficult to heal in the history of one of the world's most influential music groups. Amsterdam, a public statement may be only the tip of the iceberg, yet what appears on the surface is often deceptive. Are we witnessing a real crisis or a kind of performance designed to draw public attention? In this post-concert period full of speculation, a fundamental question must be placed at the forefront. Does the circulating narrative represent verifiable facts, or is it built from fragments of rumors amplified in digital spaces? Claims, leaks, and screenshots scattered across TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and other platforms compel us to ask not only who is right, but also how truth itself is constructed. To what extent can these pieces of evidence be tested? Who benefits if public opinion is shaped by unverified information? Every viral post leaves traces: posting time, context, and motive. Assessing the authenticity of information demands a simple yet disciplined methodology: cross-checks, digital trails, and primary sources. Isn't that the minimum duty of a critical reader? If we neglect this, aren't we in fact becoming part of the chain of hoax dissemination that causes harm? Another provocative question: is an artist's involvement in a live broadcast or protest song an act of moral courage, or merely a calculated communication strategy? Does the public's emotional response justify actions that risk tearing apart an artist's organizational structure? This moment also demands reflection on the role of management and record companies. To what extent can internal policies be justified for the sake of commercial cooperation? And when do such restrictions violate individual rights to free expression? Is tight control always identical with business interests, or does it reflect legitimate concerns in managing a global brand? On the other hand, let us also question the responsibility of media and influencers. Do they present facts or circulate narratives that are more profitable for engagement than for truth? When clicks and views become the main currency, how often is truth sacrificed for sensation? For fans, especially ARMY, what does loyalty mean when faced with ambiguous information? Should automatic support be prioritized, or accompanied by firm verification of distressing claims? Doesn't love for an artist also demand intellectual integrity? A pragmatic answer is to gather evidence before forming an opinion. Keep original screenshots, seek confirmation from official parties, and monitor developments from credible sources. If strong evidence is found, publishing the claim is a public service. If not, holding back is a form of social responsibility. Isn't that logical? Yet we cannot deny the emotional effect that has occurred. Regardless of its validity, this rumor has influenced perceptions, sparked protests, and ignited the passion of global discussion. Isn't that in itself a phenomenon worth analyzing? How unverified issues can produce real consequences? As a reflective closure, let us evaluate our personal motivations when spreading information. Are we driven by empathy, curiosity, or simply the desire to be first? How should the ethics of sharing information work in the digital era? We emphasize that the information we have compiled comes from various platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and several other media, yet its truth still needs further verification. Therefore, we invite readers to think critically, delay premature conclusions, and participate in discussions based on evidence, not rumor. Finally, we again ask you, do you believe this event is real, or is it merely media fabrication for sensationalism? Your answer is not just a personal opinion, but a reflection of the information culture we are building together. Thank you. As a practical guide, who was the first source to publish this claim? Is there original visual evidence? And have the parties concerned made official statements? Save the evidence, cross-check with independent reports, and hold back before resharing. Remember that unverified accusations can damage reputations. Caution is an ethical obligation. A broader question: can media regulators and journalistic codes of ethics overcome the flow of international rumors? Or must fan communities take on the role of verification? Before pressing the share button, question your motive and its impact on the person mentioned. A healthy information culture requires consistent verification, openness to correction, and a willingness to delay conclusions until sufficient evidence is available. If you agree, start now. Verify, reflect, and engage in evidence-based dialogue. We urge all parties to participate in responsible discussion. Ask questions, request clarification, and focus on facts, not speculation now. Thank you.